Hey guys, how you all doing? This afternoon we're actually going to be doing a little interview, something a little bit different for us. An interview with Annmarie, who is the proprietor of the Gatehouse Café, which you can see behind me. So without further ado, let's go and check out the Gatehouse, have a chat to Annmarie and find out what interesting stories she might have for us. She's a very interesting character, as you'll see. Cheers. Hello everyone, I'd like to introduce you to Annmarie, who runs the Gatehouse here at Ballarat Cemetery.
Hi!
Of all places. So, Annmarie, bit of an impromptu interview and everything, but we'll see what happens.
Happy to be of service.
Beautiful, no worries. Now, how long have you been in Ballarat for?
So, the Gatehouse opened in May 2019 and I moved to Ballarat 7 weeks before I opened up the business.
Oh, okay.
So, the business belonged to a lady who was an old friend of mine previously. Yep. She closed the business down in the January of the 2019. My life circumstances changed in March 2019, and so I rolled to do the niece course in that time and found somewhere to rent in Ballarat, and I've been here ever since, and Ballarat is my home.
Beautiful, beautiful. How do you find running a cafe in a cemetery of all places?
Oh, it's diverse, it's very interesting, that's for sure. Being in this building is very special to me because it's quite diverse and it's quite eclectic. You know, you have people obviously that come to the cemetery to visit their loved ones who are interned. You have the babies and children that I am surrounded by. And so there's a necessary cultural respect and reverence for the living cemetery, shall we call it. Yeah. But then you have people like Tattophiles. So you've heard the term Tattopphile before?
No, what's a Tattopphile?
So Tattopphile is somebody who loves going to the cemetery and who has a love for cemeteries. Yep. So we get a lot of people that come here because the Ballarat New Cemetery is one of 2 botanical cemeteries in Australia. So it is steeped in history. Place. Yeah, it really is amazing. Place, beautiful. The Wisteria Walk that you're familiar with is just
a great mix of old and new. There's so much history here, and there's so much new stuff that is just pure nature.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely
beautiful.
Yeah, the building that we find ourselves in was actually built in 1908.
Okay.
And it was originally the administration building, and it became the cafe about 17 years ago now, because I've had the Gatehouse for 3 years already, 3 years and 3 months, not even. Threes, all the threes. So yeah, it's a blessing to be her gatekeeper, her temple mistress, I guess you could call it, but she is a part of me and I'm definitely a part of her.
Yeah. And a big part of, I guess, running the cafe here is you've got to have a big empathic side, because you're going to get a complete big mix of people who are coming here for different reasons.
Absolutely, and that's what we were talking about before, is the cultural reverence and respect that I have. But the beauty of this building and the business itself is I've bought my Maltese and Catholic upbringing, but my Gothic aesthetic that started in the 80s. You know, I was a new romantic girl who was into Duran Duran and Depeche Mode, all those sort of bands. So it was kind of like a natural progression to go into the Gothic culture. And I've been a part of it ever since. You know, I've had friends that have grown up and grown out of it, but gravitated towards people who have grown up within the culture and not stepped away from it at all. And I'm really proud and honoured to be called the Fairy Goth Mother of Melbourne, Fairy Goth Mama, as they say around the traps. Because it is an honour and a privilege to be an elder nowadays in this culture, and to have this building with the art that we provide and the live music that we do and the spiritual workshops and the holistic overview, the catering that we do. So I'd like to think of it as food for the mind, body, soul, your musical, everything.
So and you're doing all of those things within this building.
Absolutely.
Which is just amazing.
Thank
you. A lot of people in Ballarat don't realise that, and that's why we wanted to put this out into the public, because you know there's so much you can offer to the community.
Thank you.
Which is just a blessing. you know, it really is a blessing.
And it really is important to me to have a strong sense of community, and you know, we do a lot of stuff with the LGBTQIA plus community that's out there as well, and we've been involved with various different things as well. So it's really important, and as you said, not a lot of people know that we're here, and a lot of people are quite shocked when they realise where we're located. But then I love, and I find $1 for every person that's come into this building and has gone, oh my God, I didn't realise how big this place is.
Because the way that you've decorated everything, you know, it's so alternative, but it's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. And that's the way the alternative should be. And it's just amazing that you have guest artists come in and hang up their artworks of an alternative, a lot of it's of an alternative nature.
Yep.
And it's just brilliant to see that the alternative is stepping forward.
Thank you, and that's the thing. It's the next exhibition, for example, that we're having is Imogen Colby, and her exhibition is about Aesop's fables. So, you know, it's very different to what Dylan Naylor's work is, but Dylan is a local Ballarat guy as well, fantastic artist, and writer of kids' books as well. But after Imogen's exhibition, it's a collaboration between 4 local beautiful Ballarat artists as well. And that's going to be, it's called the theme is a red theme. So there'll be lots of diversity within that. So I love the fact that the Gatehouse, even though it is the only Gothic cafe and a cemetery in the world, it's about diversity. Because not everybody, and don't judge a book by its cover either, you know. You come here and you might go, oh, hang on a second. But then you'll sit down and go, oh, all right, fine. The artwork might not be to your liking, but the next exhibition, I can guarantee you, will be. It's to make sure that we cater for everyone. And there's nothing nicer than having older clientele, younger families, alternative-minded people, all here in the same space, because I'm watching society divide more than ever. Everyone's turning against each other. And I want this place more than ever to be somewhere that everybody can come and not feel judged. Leave your egos at the door and come in and have a cup of tea.
The one thing I'll just mention here is that within this building there are so many interesting things, but it's all, I don't know how to explain it, but it's all painting passing of a person or death as something that is very natural.
And joyous. I mean, it's painful, and in Western culture, you grieve and you're told after a while, here's a cup of concrete, suck it up, get over it. We don't ever get over death as human beings. It becomes a part of us, and part of my spiritual and physical journey with this place in particular is the acceptance of death more than ever. And so come Halloween time, most people would expect the Gatehouse to do the spooky and the scary Celtic sort of stuff. We do embrace Celtic traditions, but personally swing more towards Dia de los Muertos, Latino style celebrations where they go to the cemetery. We invite people to come to the cemetery here, place photos of loved ones on the ofrendas, the altars downstairs and upstairs, and go to the graves and take your candle and take something to eat and sit and celebrate the lives and the luck and the love that you had with those people that are now passed on. Because I know from my own journeys that with death, my nana in particular, she's with me right now every step of the way with my cooking, with how I approach people and everything. So, you know, if you're open to it, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm happy to hold space for people that are struggling with their grief as well, because it's not easy to get over, and not everybody has that sort of, I'm not going to use the word resilience because that's not the right word, but that sort of candor where they can actually cope with grief. So come in, sit down on the couch, have a cup of tea, and you know, I'm there with you, and I will hold space for you while you process things.
Stepping away from that for a moment, you were telling us too that you're also a DJ.
I am indeed.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Lady Lilith Nirvana is my pseudonym. I was gifted that name by a housemate at 19 years old back in the days of Adelaide. It just happened one day, we were getting ready and he called me Lilith Nirvana, and it's stuck since, and I've had a real affinity with that name. through my lifetime, because you know she's the DJ, she's the one who goes to the clubs and you know promotes things. I used to run clubs in the 90s too in Melbourne. I ran a club called Damnation, and our very first band opening night we had Icon play back then, so many moons ago, and I've DJed various clubs over Australia as well. And I went into, I guess you could call it retirement, when my baby bats were born. So my last DJ set was when I was pregnant with Brianna at a club called Abyss at the Paladin in 96, it was 96, that's right. And yes, Born Slippy was playing and little Brianna in the womb was going off, and I went, yeah, all right, my sweetheart, it's time to stop now, we're going to stop. And then my beautiful son Dante was born in 2003. And so about 10 years ago, we were out at the club called the New Order, run by two beautiful ladies, Annika and Jackie. And we were standing outside, and Jackie actually said to me, you should DJ again. And I just was like, really? Yeah, I didn't need much convincing. And so I've been back in the scene since, and I've had the pleasure of DJing at many clubs besides the New Order, Elysium, Fame, various events around private functions as well. And now the Goldfields Gothic Festival, which I am very excited about. Really, PR shoulders back, tits to the wind.
Class, darling,
Class is cards. Classic.
So how did you get involved in the Gothic Festival?
Oh, so I saw that it was being advertised, and Valentina, one of the organisers, contacted her and said Gatehouse would love to sponsor your event, and so I put my hand up for DJing as well.
Yeah,
and I'm lucky to be one of the DJs with Naja and Bleeding Hearts Review Kirsten as well. So we've got a strong female presence behind the decks for this festival, but there's going to be so much involved. There's going to be so much to do as well.
It was certainly an interesting photo shoot that we went up to.
It was good fun.
It was great. It was really good. Yeah, I wasn't well on the day, but so I couldn't, you know, sink everything in. But it looked fantastic.
It was good fun.
Yeah,
it was good fun. But I related, as you know,
too.
it was good, and I came out of COVID that very day, so I was just kind of seeing through time and space as well. So it was good to be involved with the promo. But there's going to be so much happening from the Hearst show to the picnic to.
That's it, and that's this weekend. So if you're up in Melbourne, anyone that's in the Ballarat area or around Victoria that's seeing this, you can catch up with us all down in Melbourne this weekend. We'll be there. Beth and I will be there on Saturday and Sunday for certain amount of hours.
Yeah, I'm volunteering at two of the events.
And Annmarie will be
www.goldfieldsgothic.com.au for the full program. Check it out.
Lace your corset up and grab your top hat.
That's it. And you can check out the social media too. Keep up to date on Facebook and Instagram. And you will also be able to have a listen to the tunes that some of us will be playing. There's been a Spotify playlist that's been created for the event as well. So have a look. It's called Goldfields Gothic. So check it out.
Cool. So within the building, there are so many interesting artistic things. So
I do like this guy.
You were saying before that a lot of the decor here you've actually had donated.
Yes, very much so. From the buffet that is in our banquet room as we speak, to the cornucopias that are outside that a gentleman had in his garage, to the sign next to me, the Holy Society of St. Paul, which belonged to a lovely dear friend Tony, who he and his husband bought in the Blue Mountains. The couch is out on the mezzanine that was donated by a lady who'd hung onto them for 20 years for her daughter, and her daughter decided she didn't want them. And there's this gorgeous teal vintage couch just out there that you'll see in the footage.
Yes,
that
it's
just
we'll show you all these things as we go around.
But everything has a story, everything has sentimental value to it, everything is a very connective space. And now I have a beautiful Madonna and child, thanks to you guys as well.
Even modern artistic stuff, you obviously have people around that actually put stuff on consignment to sell here and things
absolutely.
like that.
And that's the thing with the retail side of the business. Everything here is unique or diverse. I am the only Erstwilder stockist in Ballarat. You won't find Erstwilder anywhere else, so it's exclusive to me. And the jewellery and the things that we like to have for people to buy as a present, you won't get it anywhere. It'll be something a little bit
It's all
different, a
It's
little
like
bit
the doll I
quirky.
picked up yesterday.
It's all local artists.
Exactly.
A lot of it's
It's like
local
my
artists.
Yeah.
doll.
That's
They're
it, the handmade
creative.
dolls. That's it, creative and
Yeah.
supporting each other. And that's what it's all about. It's
Yeah.
about supporting each other. It's not about competition. You know, I have great pride in when we do social media things where I will actually compliment Inglenook Dairy or whoever we've
Yeah.
made something with, or the
Yeah.
local florist or whatever, because we are struggling more than ever and industries are crumbling. And so it's really important to be able to acknowledge our fellow human being, let alone a fellow business.
That's right. There's far too much of competition and too much ego
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing that I wanted to touch on.
By the way, before he touches on that, this is one of our white markers.
Yes,
I don't know if you can see it, but it's got
absolutely.
some glitter in it. It was just heaven. But yeah.
They make fantastic coffee here, so drop into the Gatehouse anytime you're in Ballarat. It's at the Ballarat New Cemetery, not the old cemetery.
Yeah.
There's two cemeteries in Ballarat, so the new cemetery, the Gatehouse, and it is fantastic.
So it's the top end of
Blow your
Lydiard
mind.
Street. Yeah,
Yeah.
top end of Lydiard Street, just inside the Norman Street gates, just on the left-hand
You
side.
can't miss
That's
it.
it.
You'll be surprised.
You seriously can't.
So, working many hours in a cemetery cafe, one has to ask, have you seen or felt or had some weird experiences
Yep.
here
Absolutely.
that you can talk about?
Absolutely. I can
Yeah.
talk at it whether it's not. It's obvious. It's physically obvious. I'll go back to when I first started here in the building, and I was working really long hours by myself, and it was a very big time for me as well, because I was by myself for the first time in my life. I was living without any others, without any humans, without any animals either. So it was very raw. So I was very open to a lot of things, and I would spend 15 hours a day in this building. So I'd be here from 5 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, doing all the paperwork. I had no internet at home, so I was eat, drink, sleep here. And at night time, through that time, I did find there was a bit of a dark energy going on. I'd go to the gates and I'd feel a little bit, oh, this is a bit creepy. And I'm not creeped out by a lot of stuff, but I could tell that there was something going on. And then I met this amazing lady called Terry Forrest, and she came into the building one day and brought her heart chakra bowl with her, and it just shifted the energy. And from that point, and from there, I was even more open to receiving messages and hearing things and not being scared by them, because it's real. It's not just us out here. There is other forces, whether you believe in God, Muhammad, Buddha, whatever your belief structure is. I have respect for you as long as you have a compassionate heart. That's what it comes down to. But there is one image which I won't share, that I know only certain people know, that if somebody is being buried at the cemetery that day and they have left this realm sooner than they should have, whether it's by unfortunate circumstances or their own hand, there is one picture that will move. And I know that day, and then I'll check the records and see who's being interned that day and go, oh, okay, straighten the picture, light a candle, burn the incense, the good shit as we call it, because that's what Terry's named, or the Oakville Holistic. It's really good. It's a vibration raiser. Can't recommend it strong enough. But we'll burn that, pay homage to that person who has died, and yeah, you just move on. It's a very experiential thing, and some of the crew that work here as well, they know the secrets, so to speak, and they'll look and go, yep, now check your phone. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, that's good. We won't ask you to share too many experiences, but I'm sure you've had plenty of experiences.
Nothing scary, nothing
Yeah.
confrontational, but I've felt being a part of this too is, and this is a little bit more personal, where I feel very connected to source, very much so. The Ballarat gold fields, it's beautiful, and even the fact that
much
it's
history here.
so much history. And I love the fact that this festival that we're involved in, called the Gothic Goldfields Festival, it just unites the whole area. And instead of it being excluded or whatever, it's inclusive. And that's how I feel about this building. It's, again, teaching people to be understanding of each other, no matter what your differences are.
Yeah. For sure. Sure. Okay, so working in the cemetery, well, working in a cafe in a cemetery, you'd be well aware that people do come in who call themselves paranormal investigators and have a bit of a look around the cemetery and all that. How do you feel about that?
I'm happy for people to explore. Everybody has a right to do what they want to do. It's interesting to see those that I'll consider to be charlatans and those that actually make money off of people's good nature, and I find that really, really sad. But there are people like yourself who are legit and wander around, but we actually don't get a lot of people coming into the building because it seems to be they do a lot of paranormal activity work at the old cemetery more than they do the new cemetery. So I find that really interesting as well.
Absolutely.
There's a lot more here.
And you do get a lot of people walking around that are interested in history.
That's right. There's 130,000 people interned here at the cemetery, so it's a lot. And you know, it happens obviously daily, and even through COVID, you know, it was really hard to watch people struggling with not being able to have funerals or large burials and things like that. And it was a real pleasure in being involved with having the picnic here, the Heritage Picnic last year, because it was our second birthday as well. And that was the whole idea of actually approaching the Ballarat New Cemetery and saying, let's do something and have this event where we could do markets and things and bits and pieces like that. So I know that the Trust and the Advisory Committee have got plans for the other cemetery for an event coming up this year. But yeah, watch that space.
I find with this cemetery here, it's rather interesting because where I come from on the other side of Melbourne, you don't see many people just walking their dogs through the cemetery or taking a walk with the kids, whereas here it's a very big thing. You see people all over the place walking their dogs and bringing their families just for a nice stroll.
Absolutely.
Because it is such a beautiful thing and it's such an interesting historic place.
And I love the fact that people are bringing young children, because a lot of people don't think that kids can cope with death, and I think if they're introduced to life and death being equal, that it goes hand in hand together from a young age, then they're not as frightened of the concept of death as they get older. Because it's not that it normalizes it, but it kind of brings it into everyday life. And there's nothing cuter than, as you said yourself, to watch a family riding their bikes, walking the dog all at the same time, and to go back to that era too. And we encourage people to bring your food. Like, get your food from us, bring it with you, go for a walk, sit down somewhere, there are so many pockets in this place where there are benches to sit down on.
Or there's picnic tables and stuff as well.
Exactly.
And the beauty is that you can come here, you can come and get your coffee at the cafe, you can come and get your cake or your munchies or anything you like. You can have it in the cafe, or you can go for a wander around the cemetery and have it around the cemetery.
And this is why we like to call this building, like, we don't just call it a cafe, because it's the Gatehouse Ballarat. Full stop. It's not the Gatehouse Cafe, it's not the Gatehouse Art Space, it's the Gatehouse Ballarat. Because we are
it's a community thing.
One of a kind, exactly, one of a kind, community based, but multifaceted in such a way so that you can get your food, take your flowers, do whatever you need to do, buy some art, buy a gift card, whatever, or just sit, you know, sit with your cup of tea in the corner or whatever with your book, you know. It's about being at peace here in all avenues. It's about whether you're going to go out and go for a walk, and our outdoor area as well through the springtime when that all comes out. It's so nice, and fingers crossed that hopefully we'll be getting some funding or grant from Ballarat Council so we can actually fix up that outdoor area as well. So we'll contribute to it. That'll be so massive.
You're also into a little bit of witchcraft or the pagan side or something like that?
I like to call myself an intuitive healer. So that you can't really
work with energies that come to you.
Absolutely, because as I said before, I was raised a Catholic, and in my culture as well, my nana would have these, you know, don't wash your hair on the first day of your period, you can't cut your hair on a full moon,
my grandmother.
all that, exactly, things that are culturally you know, the women of the village and the wise women would do, or the witches or whatever, because in the Catholic Maltese culture, you wouldn't talk about that sort of thing. Automatically, like, you're not going, oh gosh, you know, do. But for me now, at 52 years old, for the first time in my life, I've really embraced my spirituality for what it is. I'm not ashamed of who I am, and I was conditioned for so many years to be ashamed of what I believed in and that it was evil, and it's not. You know, I come from a good heart space. I'm compassionate. I'm not perfect. Everyone makes mistakes in life. I like to think I grow from those mistakes, and it's just beautiful to find that as I sit in my true self and my authenticity, like-minded spiritual people are coming towards me and with me and walking with me in this journey, and just encouraging each other instead of this whole holier than thou attitude. And I don't say that with a Christian tone. I say that across the board, whether they're pagans or Wiccans, not good enough. And you just go, hang on, you're losing the concept of the 5 elements and whatever. And it's just...
I like to refer to it as TikTok witches.
But that's the thing.
And Instagram witches.
Yeah, that goes with TikTok paranormal explorers too, or TikTok, you know, spiritual people, you know.
But that's the thing with social media, though, it has its place, and I was very against social media, TikTok in particular. I'm really quite frightened of the technology, shall we say. But it's kind of the better the devil you know. So we got on board with TikTok and we're viral. Like we had one of our posts has reached 1.4 million people because it's just a really simple thing of that cafe shop in a cemetery. And that's it. It's just like, and people's minds are just like, oh, what now?
And that's something you don't see much of.
No.
Very
I explained the Gatehouse to my mum. Right. I was brought up Catholic. My grandmother was Irish and English, so she was an Irish Catholic. I was brought up Catholic, went to a Catholic school, and I said to my mum, oh, I'm going up to get a coffee at the cemetery. And she went, what? I said, the Gatehouse is at the cemetery. They serve coffee. She's like, right, and then what do you do? And I said, and we get our coffee and then we walk around the cemetery. And she's like,
cemetery?
She's like,
I didn't understand how they could be in a cemetery.
And see, I come from a country town in central West New South Wales. My dad was a grave digger at the cemetery. So I was one of those people who wandered around cemeteries because I liked being there. And my mum still can't grasp.
But you can never get a coffee in those cemeteries.
No, you can't. This is great.
Come to Ballarat, you can get a coffee.
Fair trade, ethically sourced coffee. Change coffee.
So that's what I mean. It's not a concept that people freely grasp.
Really struggle with it.
Because I'll know that that's, you know, that's disrespectful. And I'm like, well, no, it's not.
I agree, but I do understand though, we've had quite a few people that have come in and said that they don't want to, or there'll be groups of people and they'll organise a group and then they have to cancel the booking because somebody will say, I'm not going to the cemetery, because they have a fear of death. And I respect that. That's fine, everyone has a right to feel like that. But, you know, for a lot of people, death it's a mortality check, it's confrontational. And not everybody can sit in that space comfortably as people like you and I can.
Yeah, well, like I said, I grew up playing hide and seek in the cemetery. I just didn't realise the people I was playing...
points for you. You didn't realise that they were actually not here.
That's right. And then when I said to my mum, I'm playing with that girl, and she wasn't there, I wasn't allowed to get out of the car.
Gifted at an early age. That's beautiful.
But that's what the Gatehouse, that's what is special about it, is you don't make it a morbid thing, and you respect the fact that some people aren't going to get it.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't try and change people's minds. You don't try and get on your soapbox and start preaching. If someone doesn't feel comfortable, you respect that.
Yeah.
And respect goes an awful long way in the spiritual and the paranormal and the whatever flavour of whatever you are. There's not enough respect.
No.
There really isn't, because if you do something different, you're wrong.
That's right.
And there is nothing wrong with what you do.
Thank you. And this is the thing, the Gatehouse has been, the business itself has been a massive learning curve for me, because it's the first time I've ever run a business. I've always been the right hand to somebody. I worked for other corporations, photography. I've done many different things in my life where I've been after school care, fully qualified hairdresser, vintage stylist, you know, jack of all trades. Retail, the whole bit. Now, being in this business, running it for the first time as a boss / manager and owner of such a sensitive business, it has taught me a lot. And I have been accused of having an ego, and I'm far from having an ego. I'm horrified when I've let somebody down or not done right by someone, because I come from such an integral heart space. That it's like, okay, I know that we're all broken in some way, shape or form. And I like to think of it as all growth and learning curves, but to be accused of not being what I actually am, or as being misconstrued, it's heartbreaking. And so sometimes I'm Teflon and sometimes I'm not. But because...
that's been you.
That is.
And I can relate to that, because I've had a few moments like that. Let's go.
Let's go!
Go for it.
You ready?
Yes, okay, so is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, firstly, thank you very much for this interview.
Oh,
it's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
I'm enjoying the tea.
Oh, I'm glad you need the immunity, and yes, clean tea. It's a really beautiful tea as well.
And it's really lovely. It's making me feel really good.
That's it. And make sure if you want something with a little bit of a sparkle, just ask our beautiful team, and I'm sure they'll get a little bit of disco action for you. But yes, come in. Thank you for your support. Come into the Gatehouse. Supporting us, you're not just supporting us, you're supporting other industries as well, other retailers and other businesses. Any artists, any musicians, if you'd like to be part of our Gatehouse family and have an exhibition, we're booked out with exhibitions until March next year at the moment, but drop us a line, info@thegatehouseballarat.com.au, or you can come in and say hello and drop off an example of your works or anything like that. And the same with music. We're always open to do live music. You'll see in the video shortly of what our space looks like, and you'll be able to do just acoustic sets are welcome, or private functions we can do as well. And of course this beautiful banquet room that we're sitting in currently is great for like private spaces or small groups and things like that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Annmarie.
Pleasure.
We're going to have a bit of a wander around, and I'll do a bit of a photo bomb so everybody can see the interior of the place. And just thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome interview.
Oh, pleasure was mine. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.